We're starting on chapter 3 in your driver's guidebook if you're following along, and that starts on page number 43. So this is all about the basics of driving, and this starts from when you first get in your vehicle and how you would want to. We're going to talk a little bit about the controls and seating position, wearing seatbelts, those sort of things. So before you even start moving the vehicle, we're going to first talk about getting in the vehicle, setting it up in to be safe for you. And then we'll go into the basics of driving, like it says, like starting, stopping, reversing, just some basic maneuvers to build up to more advanced. Okay, so in that video, it talked about a few things, your seat position and your head restraint. So you definitely want your head restraint in the right position because it reduces the risk of whiplash and injuries. So in case you get rear-ended in a collision, your head flies back, and that head restraint will help to ensure that you don't have any additional injuries or make it worse. So as the video kind of demonstrated, you want the middle of the head restraint to be in line with the middle of your head. That's the ideal position, so pay attention to that. Even if you're a passenger and you're in another person's vehicle and you get in that passenger side seat, it is helpful to have it in the right position, because it can actually save you a lot of pain and heartache down the road if you were to get into a collision. It can save you and keep your neck and everything in a good position. So center of the head restraint is level with the top of your ears. Decrease the space between your head and the restraint, so less than 10 centimeters. You don't want your seat way back, kind of low riding, and because then there's a greater distance for your head to hit the seat. The closer it is, the safer it is. Passengers' head restraints are adjusted to the correct height. Yeah. Also, yeah, it's saying even as passengers. So the driver, it's really important to have your head like that, but also for your passengers, it's important to keep it like that. So before you even start driving, as the video talked about, was adjusting your seat properly so that you can reach the pedals comfortably. You don't want to be so close that you're touching the steering wheel or anything like that, but far enough back. But your toes should, or your full foot, the ball of your feet should be able to touch the pedals nice and easily. You can see over the steering wheel, obviously. So some especially newer vehicles, you can lift the seat up and down dependent on your height. Make sure you can clearly see over the dashboard and all of your windshield. Position the back of the at least 20, so position yourself in the seat at least, it talked about 10 inches away from the steering wheel, or 25 centimeters. In Canada, we usually use centimeters but it could be either or on the test. They will likely say 25 centimeters, but you could also see them referencing it to 10 inches. What I also use too as like a good measure, just when you're in a car, you don't usually have a measure tape with you unless you're like a contractor. But if you space out your hands like this, nice and straight, and that is a good distance. That's usually about 10 inches or 25 centimeters from the steering wheel. And the reason why you want to be that far from the steering wheel is because of airbags. If you're really, really close and you were to get into a collision and your airbags go off, they are really fast. They come within fractions of a second. However, if you're that close, the airbag might not deploy fast enough to actually save and cushion the blow for you. So that's the main reason why you want to be farther back, is for your safety, for the airbag, so they have enough time to deploy and save you potentially from hitting that steering wheel and getting more severe injuries. You also want that gives you a good distance to have your arms in like a comfortable position. You don't want your arms straight forward on the steering wheel. You want a little bit of a bend so it's a little bit comfortable. So that's usually the ideal distance. You must be able to reach the brake pedal, but also the gas pedal. You need both pedals, and if you're in a standard, there would also be a clutch pedal. So you'd need both feet to comfortably reach those pedals. You don't want to be stretching for it because you don't want to be in a position where you're stretching to get that brake. And you don't want to be too close so that you're hammering on that gas too quickly either. So those are all kind of the pre-driving basics that it goes through on page 44 and 45. But you also need to adjust your mirrors. So both your rear view mirror, when you adjust your rear view mirror, you should see the full back window behind you. So just adjust that to higher or lower, whichever you need to fit the angle of when you're looking in your rear view mirror. And also your side view mirrors. You want to be able to see a little bit of this of your vehicle, the side of your vehicle, and then most of the road beside you and behind you. So those, you adjust those mirrors to reduce your blind spot, and we'll talk more about what a blind spot is. Adjusting your inside rear view mirror so you can see as much as possible behind you, making sure you see that whole window, and your side view mirrors, right, to reduce your blind spots. I already said that. And then making sure that your seat belt is done up. Obviously, where there's been a lot of public campaigns about using your seat belt and that it saves lives, can also greatly decrease your chances of being injured. It's also the law. There's a lot of police enforcement and enhancement to make sure that you use your seatbelt. If you're caught without a seatbelt, it can result in a fine, but it's also just very, very important to your safety. And a lot of people nowadays have it's become common practice to use that seatbelt because we know that it can have a big impact and difference in saving somebody's life or decreasing the injury from. And the reason why seatbelts are there as well, in case there was an incident where you were in a really bad collision, and if you were, say, hit a moose, or if the car rolls over, sometimes it can keep you in this vehicle. You in the seat is usually the safest position for you to be in, because once you if you were to fly through the car, through the windshield or something like that, be lodged from the car, you never know where you could actually end up, or the car could end up on top of you, something like that. So the safest position, even though it may not feel like it when you're strapped to a car, if you're in a collision, it can be scary. It usually is the safest place for you to be in that seat with a seatbelt.